Good evening, everyone. I'm Sanhita Chatterjee. Welcome to my biology classes. And in today's class, I will discuss about nervous system, which is a very important system. And nervous system is known as the master of all systems that are present in our body, because the nervous system coordinates with all other systems and help us to perform all our daily activities. Let's start it with a charm that is also created by nervous system. You can see two picture. One is a strange thing and another is a lady who is having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hands. But naturally a woman do not have 6 hands, right? We are all having 2 hands, but she is a superwoman. She is our mother and she is not having 6 hands, but this picture showing that with 2 hands she is doing a lot of things together. Okay, she is making food, she is making our breakfast, remind us our classes, our offices, our meetings, and lots of things she is doing at a time. How she could perform all things together? Because her mind, yes, mind, it's her mind, it's super active. How our mind gets super active and we can do all things at a time? Because within our brain, yes, in today's class I will discuss about brain, its anatomy and physiology. Physiology means function and anatomy means its structure. So within brain there must be different centers located within the brain and that are responsible for different kinds of functions. Okay, so we will study one by one its structure and function. Here is the next slide where we will see the division of nervous system. Actually, nervous system is divided into two main parts. One is the central nervous system and the other is the peripheral nervous system. Like if you see a circle, it has a center and it has a periphery. Our brain is our nervous system, okay, which is also consist of a central axis and a peripheral nervous system. So peripheral nervous system basically composed of nerves and neurons. Okay, so this central nervous system, that means the central axis, is formed by two main things, that is brain and continue with a cord, that is our spinal cord. So see, it's a brain and our brain mainly divided into three parts. So brain is mainly divided into three parts. So here I am writing brain and its three parts are, what are the three parts of brain? It's forebrain, next it's midbrain, and last is hindbrain. Okay, so we will see one by one the structure of forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain and their functions. So firstly, we will see the forebrain. This is the first part of the brain. So here in this picture, this whole part that I am marking now, it's the part of this whole part. Okay, this whole part is a part of forebrain. So more clearly, if you look at this structure, that this whole brain, it's the largest part of the brain. Which one? That whole part. This whole part is known as forebrain. Forebrain. Okay. So here is the another name of forebrain, that is also named as prosencephalon, or you can also pronounce it like Prosencephalon. Okay, so this Prosencephalon is known as forebrain and it is the largest part of the brain that controls all the kind of activity that you consciously perform in a day-to-day work. Like what I am doing now, I am talking. Talking, walking, thinking, decision making, all the work that we do consciously, that is the function of forebrain. Okay, later I will discuss more about its function, but firstly, this it is the largest part of the brain, and you will recognize after this class that it's a forebrain. It's a part of forebrain, and our brain is divided into three parts, and the forebrain is the first part, which is the largest part of the brain that controls all our conscious activity, like talking, walking, thinking, decision making. Whatever we do consciously, that is all controlled by forebrain. Okay, and what we are seeing in this picture, that there is lots and lots of folds, right? Within there is the wrinkles, that is that these parts are, there is lots and lots of folds, or you can see the invaginations, the folding of this structure, right? There is a membrane, and which is a folds, there is lots of folds. Yes, these folds, they have also these folds are regarded as, there is two kind of folds. The larger folds that are known as gyri, the larger folds that are known as gyri or gyrus. Okay, and the shallower, that small folds, are known as salki or sulcus. Sorry, it's sulky or sulcus. So there are two kind of folds, that are gyri, that means gyrus, and sulky, that are shallower folds, shallow, that means not a big fold, a small folds, that are known as sulky or sulcus, and the larger folds that are named as gyrus. Now what is the importance of this folding? As much as the folds are present, as much as the wrinkles are present over here in the first part of the brain, that is forebrain, and not every individual have equal number of wrinkles. Okay, but so many person, or very few person, have the so many wrinkles, and that means more surface area, that means there is more number of neuronal projections available, there is more number of folds, more number of neurons will be present over here. Okay, and that may lead to increase your intelligence. Okay, so this is the first thing that you must know, that the first part of the brain is named as forebrain, and it's having lots of folds, and they are also named as sulci and gyri. So I will still stay in the forebrain because it has two different parts. So now forebrain is having two different parts. What are they? They are named as Diencephalon and Telencephalon. So forebrain again divided into two main parts that are named as Diencephalon and Telencephalon. Okay, Diencephalon and Telencephalon. Because within forebrain there are so many structures, and they are divided into two groups. One group is Diencephalon and other group is Telencephalon. Diencephalon is known as, or it is also compared to Lady Diana. Lady Diana is a queen. Okay, and if she comes in a occasion, she will always stand in the middle of the stage. So the structures which are into the Diencephalon, they are always located in the center of forebrain, and they are named as two main part. They are named as thalamus, and the other is hypothalamus. These two structure is always present within the diencephalon. And within the telencephalon, there is the cerebral cortex, that means the cerebrum. Second is basal ganglia, and third one is the limbic system. We will see these structures one by one. Brain, and it is divided into diencephalon and telencephalon. Diencephalon is regarded as Lady Diana, and the structures into this group, they will always located in the center, that are thalamus and hypothalamus. And telencephalon is more likely telescope, that are the stage is surrounded by the lot of telescope that are projecting towards the Lady Diana. So they are the peripheral part, that are the cerebrum, basal ganglia and the limbic system. Okay. In this slide, we will see the parts of forebrain. So basically, forebrain is named as prosencephalon, that I previously mentioned, is the largest and most complex part of the brain, responsible for higher cognitive functions. Now, what are the examples of cognitive functions? Like you are doing or solving a problem like sums. Okay, so these are the cognitive functions. So the sensory processing, like sensation, any kind of, like vision, hearing, auditory function, visual activity. Okay, the sensation, touching an object. These are the sensory processing. And the voluntary actions. Now the term, this is very important to know. Voluntary means what are the things that we do by ourselves, that is completely dependent on our willpower. Like I want to talk to you, I can. I want to walk towards you, I can. Okay, so these are the voluntary movements, basically the muscle movements, skeletal muscle movements, walking, talking. Okay, so these type of voluntary actions can be performed by forebrain. And this forebrain, most importantly, it is divided into two main parts. First one is the diencephalon, and we will see the structures under diencephalon. So diencephalon is located beneath the cerebrum, and it consists of, now what is cerebrum I will discuss later, but within diencephalon we will see two structure, that is thalamus and the another is hypothalamus. So in this picture you can see, firstly tell me which part is forebrain. Yes, we already know that this whole large part, outer part, is known as the forebrain, that I marked with red ink, that is the forebrain. And within forebrain there is diencephalon and the another name is telencephalon. So we will see the what are the structures of diencephalon, that is thalamus and hypothalamus. So again, what are thalamus and what are hypothalamus? There is thalamus. Thalamus. Which part? This point. So this is located at the center. That is why this structure is a part of diencephalon. Lady Diana always stand in the center of the stage, and this part is hypothalamus there. These two are very important structures. Thalamus act as a relay center for sensory and motor signals. Relay center means it receives all kind of information that are sent by different organs of the body. Like our eyes sending some visual information, our ear sending some auditory information. Okay, so that all type of sensory information, sensory means that that type of information that are sent by our organ to the brain, and motor means that signals that our brain sends towards the muscle. Okay, towards the target organ, like our brain sending the actual image of that brain that I am focusing into this slide. We can see this structure right now. Okay, your brain is signaling and your brain send these signals towards the eye that yes, this is a brain. Okay, that's why you are seeing the right things. So this is the information, but before this information get processed, this all type of information is received by thalamus. Okay, so in some kind of office or in college or in any type of organizations where we go for our daily to daily activity, they keep our documents. We submit our documents towards a person who received the things, and then they convey that information to the authority. Like thalamus work like that person who receives all kind of information, and then it submit or it sends that information to the higher order center, that is the brain. Okay, so thalamus is now we understand what is the function of thalamus actually. And then the hypothalamus, this is a very important part that regulates many kind of activity, like hunger. That means when we feel that we hungry, right? When we eat something, we feel that no, that is enough for us, we will not eat more than that, right? That is a feeling of fulfillment, right? Like we feel that now I am full, like I can't eat more. So that is the another thing that is named as satiety. So hunger and satiety both maintained by hypothalamus. Another important thing is thirst. That means when we feel to drink water or something, and when we get thirsty. And body temperature, which is a very important thing, it regulates our body temperature. And beside that, hypothalamus also regulate our sleep wakeful cycle. Okay, it also release lots of endocrine hormone like growth hormones. Our development is also controlled by hypothalamus. Okay, and for mother, that lactation, that means the secretion of milk, that is also secreted by hypothalamus. So there is lots of our adrenaline hormones, different kind of hormone secretion, that all kind of things, daily activity, that is also regulated by hypothalamus. I will discuss later of hypothalamus and thalamus, but in a brief, the epithalamus, which include the pineal gland, that is not seen in this picture, that we know that is known as our third eye, that is the epithalamus. Maybe you know that you have already heard that term, that there is a third eye. Okay, and you know that position that is between our two eyebrows, like that is the pineal gland, that also controls that sleep wake cycles and melatonin production, that hormone which is which regulates our sleep, or which is responsible for production of sleep, that is melatonin. Okay, and subthalamus, it is involved in movement regulation, and these structures work together to control complex behavior, emotions and physiological functions that I have already mentioned. Okay, so within this picture we relocate that thalamus and hypothalamus, and that are the part of forebrain. Okay, next we will move to the another part, that is telencephalon. Okay, see, in this flow chart you can see that is the Diencephalon, and it is consists of thalamus and hypothalamus. And within the telencephalon there is cerebral cortex, basal ganglia, hippocampus and amygdala. Okay, these four parts we will see next: cerebral cortex, basal ganglia, hippocampus and amygdala. Okay, let's see. So these parts are also located or visible in this picture. So here in the telencephalon, it's a part that is cerebral cortex. Okay, cerebral cortex is the part of cerebrum, and this part of the forebrain, this whole large part is known as cerebrum. This whole part is known as cerebrum. Here is the cerebrum. And you can see this cerebrum, this whole part, okay, this whole part is known as cerebrum. And this part is also covered with a membrane or it is covered by this part. Okay, it is covered with a protection that with a membrane that protects it from external damage, that is known as cerebral cortex. That is known as cerebral cortex. So I am writing the name here, cerebral cortex. Cerebral cortex. Cortex means that we know neuron, and a neuron is having two parts mainly, its cell body and axons. Okay, if we look at the structure of a neuron, then definitely we will see that if there is a structure of neuron like this way, its cell body is a part and there is another part, that is the axon, right? And this is cell body, and there is also several part of a neuron that I'm not going to discuss here. So these axons, when there is a cluster of, and the cell body consists of nucleus. Because of nucleus, cell body is colored like a dense color. It has a dark colored appearance. But whereas axon is gray color, light gray, because it does not have the nucleus. So because of the presence of nucleus, cell body look like dense cluster of neuronal cell bodies like this way. And they formed the cortex. So cortex is nothing but the cluster of neuronal cell bodies. Okay, so cluster of neuronal cell bodies is known as the cortex. They are present at the cerebrum, so that is why they are known as cerebral cortex. So now you know what is the cortex layer. That is the layer which is formed by the cluster of cell bodies. Okay, please write it down into your notebook. The cluster of neuronal cell bodies located at the surface of the cerebrum is known as, that creates a layer that is named as cerebral cortex. Okay, next, so now we know what is cerebral cortex. So telencephalon is composed of cerebral cortex or cerebrum, cerebral cortex or cerebrum or cerebrum. Secondly, basal ganglia, thirdly limbic system, So we have already seen what is cerebral cortex. It is the outermost layer of cerebrum. Once again, into this picture, if you want me to show you again the cerebral cortex, there is nothing, that whole part is cerebrum, and the outer layer, that is the layer of the cell bodies located within this part, is known as the cerebral cortex. Cerebral cortex layer. Okay, next is basal ganglia. Basal ganglia is the part located right here, like this part. This part is basal ganglia. Okay, basal ganglia. Actually, basal ganglia is the cluster of nucleus. Cluster of nucleus is named as basal ganglia. there is so many small structure that are associated together to form basal ganglia. Because you don't know what is ganglia, and basal ganglia means there is so many type of nucleus. These nucleus is not same as the nucleus that are present within a cell. This nucleus is different. For nervous system, nucleus means cluster of neuronal cell bodies. Cluster of neuronal cell bodies. Cerebral cortex, basal ganglia, and another system, that is limbic system. So system means cluster of organs. We know that system means one cell, there is a cluster of few cell make a tissue, few tissue fuses and form organs, and few organs form to produce a system. So here is the limbic system, means there is cluster of organs, and these organs are basically hippocampus. Okay, here hippocampus, that part, hippocampus. Okay, and hippocampus, amygdala, this part is amygdala, and cingulate gyrus, this is the cingulate gyrus, this will be cin. Okay, please correct this spelling, that is cin, cingulate gyrus, and the septal nuclei. Now what is the function of hippocampus? Basically this limbic system is specialized for memory consolidation. It creates memory of things, like once we have tasted fuchka or biryani, we remember its taste for the entire life. Like, so this creates memory. So memory of foods, memory of places, beautiful dresses, lots of things, of beautiful memories, and sometimes horrible memories also. But the system which is responsible for memory formation, that is the limbic system, and this system is composed of hippocampus that forms the memory and the spatial navigation. Now what is spatial navigation? Spatial navigation means memory of places, memory of distance, memory of location. Okay, like we easily we remember which books we have kept in the which rack of our bookshelf, right? So if I ask you to take your drawing book, you can easily take me to that. So that is the memory, that is the minute detailing that we easily remember, that we also navigate as per our map. Like we visit a shopping mall and we don't know where is that the PVR. Okay, so but we can navigate. That is the for that type of memory is for storing that type of memory is responsible for hippocampus. And amygdala is memory processing, and particularly our fear. Okay, fear and pleasure, these two kind of feelings, that two kind of emotion is created by amygdala. And cingulate gyrus, it's an emotional regulation center, and it also makes decision making. And septal nuclei is responsible for reward and reinforcement processing. Okay, so this whole tale is of telencephalon. Okay, so telencephalon is composed of cerebral cortex or cerebrum, which is a part of forebrain. So within forebrain there is two part, that is telencephalon and diencephalon. Telencephalon is composed of cerebral cortex, basal ganglia, and limbic system, and diencephalon is responsible for thalamus and hypothalamus. Next, move to the next part and see, here is the location of the whole things together. That okay, one more thing that I forget to mention, that is the corpus callosum. Okay, what is corpus callosum? Corpus callosum is a structure that holds two halves of the brain, right? Our brain can divide into two parts. Okay, like this way. If we open our brain, we can see its two halves. These parts are known as hemisphere. Okay, these are known as hemisphere. So one is right hemisphere, another is left hemisphere, right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, and these hemispheres are joined by a structure that are known as corpus callosum. This is corpus callosum. Corpus callosum is a neuronal structure that join these two hemispheres, okay, right hemispheres and left hemispheres. So now another thing that you should know in this picture, these pointed structures we already know, that the thalamus, we know it's a part of, tell me, it's a part of, it's a part of Telencephalon. No, it's a part of Diencephalon. Okay, next part is hypothalamus. So this thalamus and hypothalamus, they are part of Diencephalon, right? So these are the part of Diencephalon. Next, another part, that is the cerebral cortex. Like this part is the cerebral cortex, and there is also some structures like cingulate gyrus, one thing, and another like there is basal ganglia, there is like this structure like amygdala, and the another structure that is hippocampus, that are not visible here. These are the part of telencephalon. Another part that are showing in this picture, but still I am not discussed that names, that's why I am not telling that part, including that part into this discussion, but I will discuss this later in the next slide also. See, in the next slide we will see the another part of the brain, that is the midbrain, and in this picture there is midbrain, like this part is midbrain. See, midbrain. So we have discussed the forebrain, this part is forebrain, and now this little part is named as midbrain. Actually midbrain connects these forebrain with another part of the brain that is here, that is hindbrain. So hindbrain and forebrain get connected by midbrain. Okay, this is a forebrain. So forebrain and hindbrain get connected by midbrain, which is a very little part of the brain. Next, see, this is the top view, topmost part. Here you can see the first part, that is basal ganglia. See, this part is basal ganglia, and I have already mentioned what is ganglia. So if you still not write what is ganglia, please note it down. What is basal ganglia? Basal ganglia are the structures of nucleus. Now what is nucleus? Nucleus means clusters of neuronal cell bodies located inside the CNS, that means central nervous system, that means brain and spinal cord. And we already know that what is cell bodies. Cell bodies are the part of neuron. Okay, so this is the basal ganglia, and see, this part is left hemisphere and this part is right hemisphere, and right hemisphere and left hemisphere are connected by a part that is corpus callosum. Okay, here is another part, like there is hippocampus, this part is hippocampus. Okay, there is amygdala also, and the another important structure, that is pituitary, and here is the also location of thalamus and hypothalamus that are not visible in this picture, but that are present with inside this, that in that place, that central place, that are the part of diencephalon. But this hippocampus, amygdala and the cerebrum and the cerebral cortex, that are the part of telencephalon. Okay, and I have already discussed that basal ganglia, hippocampus, amygdala, these are the part of the limbic system. These part are responsible for memory formation and in control of our emotion, that are very important to control, right? So next is the midbrain. Like midbrain, see, we have already seen that that whole part is named as cerebrum, and this is the cerebrum. Cerebrum is the largest part of the forebrain. Cerebrum is the largest part of forebrain. And next is the midbrain. So this part, this small part is named as midbrain, which connects the forebrain to the this portion, that is hindbrain. I will come next to the midbrain, that what is hindbrain. But here is the structure of midbrain, and there are some division of midbrain, that are superior colliculi and inferior colliculi. Okay, so next part. See, this midbrain, that is named as mesencephalon. Midbrain is named as, another name of midbrain is mesencephalon. Forebrain, another name of forebrain is prosencephalon, and midbrain, another name is mesencephalon. Is a small but essential part of the brainstem. Now what is brainstem? When midbrain is with hindbrain, the part of the midbrain and hindbrain collectively called the brainstem. Here midbrain, and this whole part is hindbrain. I will discuss later the parts of hindbrain, but till then hold this term. Okay, so midbrain is a part of brainstem located between the forebrain and hindbrain, and it plays a crucial role in motor movement, auditory, visual processing and reflexes. Major part of the forebrain. So midbrain is responsible for audition, that means sound processing, vision, that means what the visual processing, like image formation, okay, color image, that all are responsible for midbrain, and audition also. So midbrain is definitely divided into three part, that is tectum, tegmentum and cerebral peduncles. So what is tectum? Tectum is roof, involved in sensory processing, particularly vision and hearing. And within this tectum, there is two part, that is superior colliculus and inferior colliculus. So in this midbrain, that is the superior colliculi and inferior colliculi, this part. Okay, so superior colliculi and inferior colliculi. Next, what is the function of superior colliculus? It controls visual reflexes like tracking moving object. Some object is moving, but still we can track them because of the superior colliculus. Like a bus is moving, still we can detect, or we can see that what number of bus is coming in front of us. Maybe it's very from very far, there is a lots of distance, but still. Or next is inferior colliculus, that is processes auditory information and reflexes. Okay, that is turning gear, turning your head toward a certain sound, turning your head toward a certain sound. Okay, so maybe two sounds are coming together, but still we can turn our head if there is a sound of some crackers or something, we certainly we turn, right? Or suddenly there is a horn that rings in front in a very close distance, we just turn towards that. So that type of sensation is carried out by inferior colliculus. Next is the tegmentum, that is the floor that contains important nuclei. Again, what are the nuclei? Nuclei means cluster of neuronal cell bodies. Okay, and tracts, that means nerve tracts for motor control and alertness. Okay, and there are so many type of nucleus, like red nucleus, substantia nigra and periaqueductal gray nucleus. These are the very important nucleus, right? Red nucleus helps coordinate movement, particularly limb movement, right? I am just moving my hands, my feet because of red nucleus. We are and substantia nigra, it plays a very important role, that it produces dopamine and is involved in movement control. Degeneration here leads to Parkinson's disease. So patients, we seen that patients that they are continuously, they are having tremor, that their hand and feet are tremoring. Okay, so it is because of the substantia nigra, because their neuronal projection is get damaged. That why a person is cannot differentiate things and objects. They are continuously unconscious in mind. Okay, they cannot walk properly, they cannot sit properly, their visions get affected because of this substantia nigra. A Parkinson disease is very serious, very serious, but it needs a whole class to discuss of the Parkinson's disease. But I'm giving you just a brief sketch of Parkinson disease. If a patient is, or some kind of some people, they are having the older age, they get in Parkinson disease because of sudden degeneration of their neuronal system dysfunction. They cannot hold things properly because their hands are continuously tremoring. Okay, and this kind of people need a very intensive care, because if you stay them alone, they kindly fall off in the floor. They get very easily, they get harmed by the things because they cannot walk properly. Movement is not that much smooth. They are walking, but they don't know where to stop. Maybe that wall is in front of them, but still they cannot stop there. They will continuously try to walk through that wall, and they might get hurts their head. Okay, so that kind of dangerous things can happen in the Parkinson disease. And periaqueductal gray pag, it regulates our pain perception. That means someone slap you, okay, but still we can handle that slap. We cannot get that much harm with their slap, because that pain modulation getting there. If there is no pain modulation, we get die because of a slapping. Okay, so that much intensely we feel that slap, but still we cannot because of our pain management. Okay, so that is the function of periaqueductal gray. And cerebral peduncles, that are large nerve tracts that connect the forebrain to the hindbrain and spinal cord, carrying motor commands from the cerebral cortex to the body. Okay, so that are the functions of. Now there is the functions of midbrain. It controls the motor control, regulates voluntary movement. What is the meaning of voluntary movements? The movements that you perform as per your wish. Like you want to talk with someone, you can. You want to walk to that place, you can. You want to walk to that place, you can. Okay, you want to stop, you can stop. So these are the movements of your skeletal muscle that you can perform by voluntary by motor movement, that is by midbrain. And the posture also, so it regulates voluntary movement and posture. Vision and hearing, it is also that coordinates eye movement and response to sound. And it also produces dopamine, essential for movement and motivation. And pain modulation, this is a very important thing. It helps suppress pain via the periaqueductal gray, PAG. Okay, and arousal and consciousness works with the reticular formation. I will discuss later what is reticular formation, to regulate wakefulness and attention. Wakefulness and attention, that is also the function of midbrain. Okay, next is hindbrain, and its name is rhombencephalon. Its name is rhombencephalon. Is the lower part of the brainstem. Now you need to know what is brainstem, and is responsible for vital bodily functions like coordination and balance. So our balance and coordination is maintained by hindbrain. It consists of three major parts like medulla oblongata, and one more thing is pons, and the another thing is cerebellum. So next, right, parts of hindbrain. Firstly, cerebellum. This part is the part of cerebellum. This is the part of hindbrain. And this part, this is pons and this is medulla. These three parts together called as hindbrain or rhombencephalon. Hindbrain or rhombencephalon. Hindbrain or rhombencephalon. Okay, so these three parts, pons, medulla and cerebellum. These three parts together named as hindbrain. Cerebellum is known as a small brain. See, it look like a whole brain. It is also having the wrinkles that are present like over the cerebrum. That this is also like this way. It is also having a outer layer, and this is known as cerebellar cortex. This is known as cerebellar cortex. Do not get confused with cerebral cortex. Cerebral cortex is a part of forebrain and cerebellar cortex is a part of hindbrain. This part is known as cerebral cortex. Cerebral cortex, which is a layer, outer layer of cerebrum, which is a part of forebrain. But cerebellum is the part of hindbrain. Okay, and there is also pons and there is also medulla. And now pons, medulla and midbrain, this part togetherly form brainstem. Pons, medulla and midbrain togetherly form brainstem. Okay, that is why there is a term that brainstem and midbrain is a part of brainstem. So brainstem is formed by midbrain, pons and medulla. These three portion of the brain make the brainstem. Okay, next, what are the functions of these part of the hindbrain? See, functions. So the first part is the medulla oblongata. It is located at the base of the brainstem and connecting the brain and spinal cord. Okay, and it controls involuntary functions. Now, what do you mean by involuntary functions? Involuntary functions mean that are the functions that we do not control by ourselves, like our heart rate. We cannot stop our heart to beat, right? We cannot hold our breath, that is our respiration. We cannot stop swallowing, we cannot stop sneezing, we cannot stop coughing. So these are out of control. We cannot control these things as per our wish. If I do not want to sneeze, I cannot. If I have to sneeze, then I have to say only excuse me, but I cannot stop sneezing, right? Heart rate, blood pressure, we cannot control it by our own. We cannot say blood pressure, please do not raise. If you get hyper, your blood pressure will rise. If you run, your heart rate will increase. We cannot say that you don't have to raise, right? So we cannot control these things. That is why they are involuntary in nature, and our medulla oblongata involuntary in nature because it's a part of hindbrain. So our hindbrain is also involuntary in nature. Medulla oblongata is involuntary in nature. Involuntary. Okay, please note it down. There is so many things that are not in this slide that I'm explaining, okay, that are certain that I want to explain, that comes to our mind that, oh, these things I have to mention here. So that is why you have to write it down when you are doing this class. Okay, so when you are taking notes, please write those things that are important, that are mentioned by the flow of teaching. Okay, next is the thing that comes after medulla oblongata, that is pons. What is pons? What are the function of pons? It lies above the medulla. So our discussion pattern is low to high. Firstly, we have discussed that medulla part, okay, then we get little higher, that we meet pons, and pons serve as a communication bridge between the brainstem and cerebellum. Brainstem is formed by brainstem is formed by brainstem is formed by midbrain, midbrain, and pons and medulla. These things, but these structures are connected with cerebellum. Cerebellum. This structure is connected with cerebellum. So pons connects this bridge. Pons connect the brainstem with the cerebellum. Its functions including relaying sensory and motor information. That means it acts as a relay station. That information that are coming from the different part of the body to the spinal cord, these pons process this all information and send this towards, if it is the information of heart rate, then it will send it to the if it is the information of heart rate, then this information will go to medulla. If it is a information of controlling balance, that information will send to cerebellum. Okay, so relaying sensory and motor information, controlling sleep, breathing, and facial movements. When I scold you, your face get changed. When I give you gift, your eyes get a charm. Okay, so your cheeks get smile. So your facial movements get controlled by the pons, and coordinating signals between the forebrain and the cerebellum. Next is the cerebellum, that is known as the little brain and located at the back of the brain. Okay, and beneath the cerebrum, just beneath the cerebrum. So how it is located, like if it is a brain, there is a part like this, there is midbrain, there is pons, there is medulla, and the another thing that is attached with that brain, that posteriorly, that is cerebellum. This is the cerebellum. Okay, so this cerebellum is very important because it controls balance and coordination of movements, voluntary movements, posture and muscle tone regulation, fine motor skills and precision movements, and motor learning. Right? I will give you example of its functions. Firstly, balance and coordination. If a girl is dancing, okay, it needs a lots of balance. That balance is regulated by cerebellum. Okay, if right now you are holding a pen and writing on the paper, you're holding pen, that balance is controlled by cerebellum. Holding a cup plate is a minute it's a fine skill movements that are also that are regulated by cerebellum. Posture and muscle tone, within a day we do perform, we stand, we sit, our bending, okay, lots of posture is created by cerebellum. So these are the functions of cerebellum. So I have also already covered the different part of the brain and its function. Okay, as I have discussed, as I have commit that brain, and it has three parts like forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Okay, so within hindbrain there is different part. So in this picture, what are the three parts of the brain? Like this whole part is named as forebrain. This is the forebrain. Next, there comes a small portion, that is midbrain, and that portion is named as hindbrain. Okay, so now another important thing, is that within that forebrain there is cerebrum, we know, cerebrum, but this cerebrum is equally divided into two hubs, that we also know, right? And there is a structure like corpus callosum. This structure holds these two part of the brain, two hemisphere, right hemisphere and left hemisphere. But this cerebrum also having four lobes, it also having four lobes, right? So what are the four lobes of cerebellum? Let's see. So here is the four lobes of the brain. First, the foremost portion, that is the frontal lobe. Next comes the parietal lobe. And after that there is temporal lobe, and lastly that is occipital lobe. So see, lobes of brain. So the brain is divided into four main lobes, each responsible for different functions. Right, for frontal lobe. Frontal lobe means, front means first. So this lobe is the first lobe. So if your forehead side, like in the front side of your head is the lobe, that is named as frontal lobe. Okay, and frontal lobe located at the front of the brain. Okay, and what are the functions of that for frontal lobe? That is, it is involved in reasoning, planning, problem solving. It is involved in reasoning, that are reasoning and planning and problem solving, motor control, emotions, and expressive language. The motor cortex, which controls voluntary muscle movements, is located here. It also plays a role in personality and decision making. So what are the functions of frontal lobe? Frontal lobe, whatever you are planning to do, that your plan, right? I will go that place tomorrow, I have to complete this work tomorrow, I have to read this chapter today. Okay, that planning is done by frontal lobe. You are solving a sum, a very interesting puzzle, that is controlled by frontal lobe. Okay, your language and your personality, your development, your decision making, everything is controlled by your forebrain. Okay, in fact your emotions, that are also controlled by frontal lobe. Okay, and next, frontal lobe is a part of forebrain, and forebrain also controls our emotions. So if I say I love you, that doesn't mean that I love you from my heart. I love you from the core of my forebrain. Okay, from the core of my frontal lobe. Now change this statement. Okay, next, parietal lobe. So parietal lobe located at the top and back of the brain. Right after frontal lobe, there is the parietal lobe. After frontal lobe, there is the parietal lobe. Parietal lobe processes sensory information related to touch. You know the difference of a book and a table, right? You also detect a touch of your mother and your friends. We can differentiate touch of the object and different kinds of things. That is because of parietal lobe. And also temperature. We can sense a cold and hot temperature. Pressure, pain, all these things are controlled by parietal lobe. It also helps in spatial awareness, like where I am standing, in which position I am sitting. Okay, and coordination. The somatosensory cortex, which process sensory input from the body, is located here. Okay, now the temporal lobe. Temporal lobe is located beside its side of our ear. Okay, temporal lobe, so located on the sides of the brain near the ears. Now that is why this lobe is responsible for auditory information, for hearing, and it is also important for memory, speech, and understanding language. The hippocampus, we already know the name of hippocampus. It's a part of telencephalon. It's a part of forebrain, which is crucial for memory formation, is located here. So, what is the exact position of hippocampus in which lobe? It's the temporal lobe. It also helps with emotional responses, that is the temporal lobe. And the occipital lobe, that is the back side of our brain. It is located at the back side of the back side of the brain. At its function is primarily responsible processing visual information. It interprets shapes, colors, depth and motion. The primary visual cortex is located here, which allows you to recognize and interpret what you see. Okay, so these are the important structures of the brain, and these are the four lobes of the brain. Okay, these all things that I have discussed in today's class are very important part, and this is very much relevant because